Hello and welcome back to Polar Night. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Garrett basically toured the boat. That's pretty much it. He toured the boat. He basically told the girls, which would be June, Gail, and Dana, why he's really there. He was kind of embarrassed when he was at the gym, and he had a, I guess, nice time outside of the boat with Tabby and Stefan, this little twerp here. But yeah, pretty sure something's gonna happen next, but I'll leave you guys to find out what it is. Lunchtime was a quieter affair than breakfast. Aaron, Tabby, and Gail were absent, and by the time that I arrived, the buffet was already stocked. Dana was having a conversation with June, while Sharif sat, as per usual, by himself at the conference table, idly pecking at a plate of food. It mystified me how someone who ate child-sized portions could maintain such a physique. He was once again absorbed by his notebook. Stefan was sitting at the opposite end with a mountain of food on his plate. He was fiddling with the camera in between taking forkfuls of food and stuffing it unceremoniously into his gob. He kept throwing furtive glances at Sharif. He must have had the metabolism of a combustion engine. He was genuinely both awe-inspiring and terrifying in equal measures. Rufus was standing by the door to the deck, a cup in one hand as he stared out into the calm polar night, looking lost in thought. "Garrett, there you are." She beckoned me over as Dana shuffled off to the buffet to inspect the offerings. "Been enjoying yourself?" I noted her tone had a touch of concern. Maybe she was still worried about me and my reluctant presence on board. "Oh, yeah, definitely. Thanks." "Glad to hear it." She still gave me a searching look, but thankfully didn't press me further. "Well, enjoy. I'll be on the bridge for a while in case anyone needs me." "Fair enough." She smiled, turned, and sauntered off just as the door opened and Tabby and Gail entered. Smells good." Not as greasy as this morning." "Would Her Highness prefer a protein shake?" I twitched, hoping to avoid another argument, but Gail just laughed and nudged her. "Not my fault that I've seen the business end of a bad diet. Seeing cholesterol-stuffed arteries put me off cheese for life." I barely suppressed a dry heave at the mental image. Tabby spotted me and acknowledged me with a casual wave. "Garrett?" I returned the wave with a small smile and surveyed the pickings. True enough, it was healthier than breakfast at least. Steamed veg, chicken, and a steak substitute. Gravy, potatoes, pretty standard fare, but it smelled nice. The potatoes were nice and herby. I had preferred real meat, but again, mixed crew. "Does he ever get full?" She nodded at Stefan, who was busily scarfing down the rest of his grub, as though he were afraid someone was going to take his plate away from him. "Experts are divided." Tabby gave a chuckle as we each started to help ourselves. A loud clink of fork on a plate announced Stefan was finished, and he stood, picking up his camera. I heaped some veg on my plate and inspected the steak. I didn't mind fake meat that much, but it could vary wildly in quality. While it never had the texture of real meat, sometimes it was more spongy, insubstantial rubbish that made me gag. I cast a sidelong glance at the sisters, watching what they choose. They both went for the fake chicken instead of the fake steak. Sometimes I wondered about the contradictions of herbivores eating stuff specifically designed to mimic meat. A lot of them found the idea horrific in principle. A loud clink from the corner of the room told me that Stefan was snapping more pictures. Instinctively, I burned and resisted the urge to turn. "Sup? You look down. I mean, more down than usual." "Hey." She snickered and nudged me. "Seriously, what's up?" I don't like getting my picture taken." She glanced over behind us towards Stefan, made a face at him, then nudged me. "Not to worry. From the looks of it, he probably just got the back of Sharif's head from where he's standing." I couldn't help but chuckle and a smile. Tabby really was pretty different when she wasn't stewing in resentment. Browsing the food, I started reaching for the fake steak. "Give me that." We all jumped and looked over to the corner of the room where Sharif was accosting Stefan. "Get off!" Dropping our things on the buffet table, we all rushed to the conference room. I want to see the picture. What the hell is wrong with you? Sharif, what's wrong? The stallion ignored everyone, looming over the possum, looking besides himself. Do you think I am a fool? What are you talking about? I was taking a picture of the room. Who do you think you are fooling? You have been staring at me for the past half hour, and you were asking about it at breakfast. Sharif, calm down. It's just a picture. I will not. If you are telling the truth, then show me the picture. No. His voice was quavering, and he was shrunken on himself, tail coiled around his legs in front. I felt a bubble of anger welling up. The scent of Stefan's terror wafted over me, reminding me of last night. A slight peppery tang marked it out against the rapidly built, fierce scent of the sisters beside me. But what also made it stand out was the intensity. Stefan was absolutely petrified. Sharif, that's enough. He ignored me. Gale and Tabby exchanged worried looks. Sharif looked like he was about to deck Stefan. Show it to me. His voice was a low growl, and he stood mere inches away. No. This time Stefan was more forceful, his terrified expression shifting to a more defiant one, even if his eyes glistened. Back off! His newfound backbone couldn't hide the fear in his voice, and Sharif apparently heard it too. He reached for the camera. You heard him, Sharif. Back off! The deep, booming voice made everyone turn their heads, even Sharif. Rufus had stepped up behind him, tall and straight and squaring off. Sharif turned to face him, and his fury flickered. Though taller than him, excluding the antlers, Rufus was built like a brick shithouse. He took my picture without consent. I only ask. Step away from him, Sharif. I swallowed as a cloud of fear engulfed me. Rufus made a show of cracking his knuckles, meeting Sharif's gaze with a look that probably would have ended Stefan if it had been aimed at him. As buff as Sharif was, I know who I'd put my money on in a fight. Apparently, Sharif was arriving at the same conclusion because his fury turned to a look of defensive contempt. He opened his mouth to protest, saw the collection of dirty looks that he was getting, and apparently decided better of it. With a final glare at Stefan, he swept by Rufus, barging him with a shoulder, and stormed off towards the cabins. Immediately, I felt the oppressive weight lift as Gale and Tabby exhaled. I realized my tail was curled in apprehension, and my ears pinned back. Guess he didn't like his picture taken either. There was a brief pause then, as though expelling the nervous energy of the last few moments. I snorted in laughter. Gale joined in. You okay, kid? Rufus stood over Stefan, resting a hand on his shoulder. Poor guy looked like the weight of his hand would floor him. Even from here, I could see that he was shaking. Yeah, thanks, guys. Rufus gave his shoulder a firm, reassuring squeeze and a warm smile. So, what was his deal? I don't know. He just got up and shouted at me. Did you take a picture of him? Gale, what difference does it make? That doesn't make his reaction any better. No. I'm not saying it does. I was just curious is all. I took a picture of the room with everyone, not just him. I just wanted to get a group shot, but... Rufus placed his other hand on his shoulder, standing before him with a comforting smile. Settle down, buddy. You didn't do nothing wrong. Take a seat here. He half-guided, half-manhandled Stefan to the nearest chair and sat him down. Stefan seemed too shell-shocked to put up any resistance. Garrett? Word? I jumped as he suddenly addressed me. He met my eyes with a dark look, then nodded his head towards the far end of the room, away from everyone else. I confusedly followed. Behind me, I heard Tabby and Gale murmuring and reassuring Stefan. Alright, I need to ask you a favor. Me? Figured the poor kid didn't expect Sharif to blow up like that. I don't like my picture getting taken either, but he was totally out of order. Agreed. So I wanted to ask, would you mind giving the kid a pep talk while I go see Sharif? He needs to know that he was out of line. Why me? Well, either that or you go give Sharif a talking to. Truth be told, I'm a little riled up right now, so might not be the best idea for me to be alone with him, if you catch my drift. You aren't gonna fight him, are you? That depends on him. I ain't looking for a fight, but if he pushes me... I gulped. While I still personally placed my money on Rufus, the pair of them could do real damage to each other. I didn't fancy my chances trying to break them up. There was something about the way Rufus had looked when he confronted him, a glint in his eye that made me shiver. I wasn't sure if he was the best person to mediate. That said, would I do any better? Sharif was terrifying when he was pissed, and could probably lift me with a single arm if you wanted. Fuck, I knew nothing about resolving arguments. Garrett? You still with me? Oh, yeah. Should I confront Sharif? Yeah, I think that would be the better idea. Seeing how on edge he was, I wasn't sure that it would be good to let Rufus try diplomacy, given he seemed moments from starting a fistfight. Yeah. He raised an eyebrow almost as if he hadn't expected me to agree. I'll go talk to him, or try to at least. His other eyebrow joined the first, then he broke into a wide grin. Attaboy, you got a spine in you after all. Hey. He guffawned and slapped my shoulder so hard my teeth rattled. Go get him, and if you have to take a chunk out of his ass, feel free. Give him some scars of his own to think about. It never ceases to amaze me just how Rufus could completely poleaxe me. I couldn't even describe him as tactless. He'd need to understand the concept first. Nevertheless, I give a nervous chuckle. It wouldn't get to that. I hope. He swept past me to approach Stefan and the others. Poor Stefan, Hurricane Rufus, might not be much better than Sharif. From the outside, Sharif's cabin door didn't seem much different from anyone else's aside from having Sharif Abdi on the nameplate. I paused, straining to hear inside. I wasn't really sure what I'd expect. Sounds of a furious tantrum, angry murmuring. But it was quiet. Maybe he was like me. He liked to quietly seethe. It probably took a good 5 minutes of straining to hear, raising my fist to knock, deciding against it and repeatedly, before I finally bit the bullet and rapped on the door. This time I heard sounds of motion, then the unmistakable heavy hoof steps approaching the door. Steeling myself, I tried to adopt a relaxed posture as the door opened, revealing his decidedly displeased face. His displeasure flickered, replaced by confusion. Garrett? Well, his tone wasn't angry. That was a good start. He sounded more surprised. Hi. Immediately, I cursed how my voice trembled, and I gave what probably was a very unsettling attempt at a friendly smile. What is it you... That was when the realization must have hit, because his surprise quickly turned to suspicion. I just wanted to talk, that's all. Did Rufus send you? My mind raced to find an answer that wouldn't piss him off even more, but my hesitation answered for me. That oaf, sending someone else to do his dirty work. Hey, I just wanted... I know, I am not stupid. His bellow caught me off guard, making me recoil much to my shame. But strangely, when he noticed me backing off, he didn't seem pleased or smug. Instead, he seemed more ashamed. We stood in awkward silence for a few painfully awkward moments, to the point another power cut would be welcome. Fuck it, a torpedo against the hull would have been welcome. Would you care to come in? His tone softened and he gave me an apologetic look. Well, that is a surprise. A pleasant one. Aye. That would be nice. Thanks. The first thing that hit me was the warmth. It was a lot warmer in here than most of the rest of the ship, almost stiflingly so. It was also surprisingly cluttered. The chart that he'd shown us last night was spread across a table with the desk lamp shining on it. It looked like there was a sheet of transparent plastic over it, with lines and scribbling on it in marker. Maybe he was keeping track of a voyage progress. He hastily rolled it up and placed it in a cupboard, fetching a small box. Please, take a seat. I will only be a moment. He pulled a chair out and offered it to me. Unused to his being so hospitable, I smiled and planted myself on it. I have a sum, if that suits. Aye. Sounds good. Tea was tea in my book, but I shouldn't have been surprised that he had specific tastes. As he bustled about putting on the electric kettle and setting out 2 cups, I noticed his notebook laid out on the table, closed. My thoughts were interrupted by a steaming cup of dark tea placed on the table before me. Thank you, that's very kind. Not at all. That genuine warm smile that I'd seen at breakfast was back, and now I felt guilty. But he wasn't a fool. He knew why I was here. To tell the truth, Rufus did send me. He wasn't sure that he'd be, the right person to talk to you. Indeed, I am inclined to agree. The bitterness in his voice made me fear another outburst. And so he asked you? Well, I kind of was worried what might happen if he tried to talk to you. You know, after... He huffed, sitting daintily on his bed, holding his tea. His back was still ramrod straight, and his posture like an old-style schoolteacher. You need not have worried. I am not inclined to violence, not even if provoked by an oath. Maybe he really was from someplace out of time. He wouldn't have been out of place as a schoolmaster in a period drama. Even his insults felt antiquated. Still, I didn't want to take the risk. His annoyance shifted to a more thoughtful look as he watched me. Feeling awkward under his gaze, I took a sip from the tea. You surprise me, Garrett. Surprise you? Why? Up until now, you have struck me as someone who would prefer not to get involved. To stay out of nasty altercations. Meaning? Meaning that as much as I am pleased that the walking coke rack decided not to take this up with me, I am surprised that it was you who had the nerve to confront me. He didn't smile or even look at me. In fact, if anything, he looked distracted, stirring his tea and staring at his desk. I don't know if it was a veiled insinuation that I was a coward, or the fact that he was making it a matter of fact that short-circuited my apprehension. The vibration in my chest threatened to escape as an audible snarl. I couldn't tell if he was trying to bait me. It was the sneaky way that he did it that made me angry. If he just asked, I would have declined. Naturally. But at least... Don't you think that it was a bit of an overreaction to getting your picture taken? Don't be foolish, Garrett. He was trying to take a picture of my notebook. Wait. How do you know he took a picture of your notebook? He was taking a picture of the wider room, so he says. So he says. He met my eyes with a contemptuous look, then. I couldn't help it. The laugh just burst out, nearly sending my tea in a spray across the room. And just what is so funny? You and Stefan, you make a right pair. His dumbfounded expression only made me laugh again. I do not understand. Stefan and you both seem obsessed with assuming everyone else has some kind of hidden agenda. I'm surprised that you don't get on more, to be honest. His mouth flapped open as he started to speak, but then words failed him. I do not know what to say. Well, I do. Let's be diplomatic. Look, I won't pretend to understand what your book means to you, but damn man, you scared the shit out of Stefan. The poor guy is like... I made a sort of all of this gesture at Sharif's body. Half your size, maybe a quarter your weight. I'm not surprised the lad near shat himself. Lad? He cannot be much younger than you know. You get what I mean? I implored him, leaning forward and putting my tea on the desk. I mean, don't you think that he regrets what he did? I'd be surprised if he wants to be in the same room as you after this. That does not excuse... Gah! He made a frustrated gesture and rolled his eyes, but he also wasn't shouting at me a good step. I admit that I may have been overly harsh. Overly harsh? I kept my tone light, raising an eyebrow and offering a small smile. I wanted him to acknowledge his behavior, but I didn't want to come across as lecturing. He seemed like the guy who preferred to give the lectures, not to take them from reedy little twigs like me. Oh, fine. Yes, I admit it. He glared at nothing in particular, avoiding eye contact and folding his arms. For someone who seemed like a posh know-it-all, he looked for all the world like a child when he was in a huff. I did not mean to scare him. I just wanted him to admit what he did. He trailed off. His anger shifted slowly to something that I didn't think I'd ever see on his face, which seemed tailor-made to wear smugness. Shame. Is he okay? His voice was small, quiet, and he finally met my eyes again. Yeah, I think so. The others are calming him down now. It was not my intention to frighten him. I was just so... He gestured in the air as though trying to find the right words. I felt violated. I can understand why he is curious. God help him. I know from what he reads. He must have an interesting mind. Oh God, did he finally corner you about that book of his? In a manner of speaking. He finally broke a smile. Oh, it was awful trash. Absolutely unreadable, old history claptrap. But I cannot deny that he is enthusiastic and observant too. Perhaps if he was less, how to put it? Like a wind-up toy that never winds down? He gave me a blank look for a moment, then he burst out laughing. He is indeed. Rather much. Listen, I have enjoyed our chat, but... He looked ashamed again, and he gestured to the door. Would you be able to... tell him I apologize? I will do it myself, of course. But I feel that right now... of course. I get it. I'll let him know. Thank you. We both stood, and after an awkward pause, he extended a hand. I am pleased that you had the nerve to come to speak to me. I doubt that Rufus would have been so... mature. Maybe. I grinned and accepted his hand. I turned and made my way to the door, not caring at all about the wagging tail following me. I admit, I felt a little pleased with myself as I entered the lounge. I even felt better when I saw that Stefan seemed to have cheered up a bit. The others were around him, Rufus standing with his back to me and arms folded as his booming voice carried over the room. The rest of them laughed at whatever he was saying. Gale sat close to Stefan, presumably to comfort him. When her eyes met mine, we communicated wordlessly. She took one look at my expression and broke into a wide grin. Oh, there you are. How'd it go with the good professor? As I approached, I could see their eyes glance down to my tail. I didn't even care to try to suppress the wagging, and could see from their brightening expressions that they were drawing the right conclusions. He said he was sorry, that he overreacted. He wants to apologize to you personally, Stefan. Not right now, obviously. I added hastily as I saw a flicker of panic on his face. He understands things are, raw right now. But later on, when everyone has had a chance to process it, he'll come to say sorry, okay? His expression shifted between uncertainty, nervousness, and dread, but finally, he cracked a relieved smile. Thanks, Garrett. It means a lot to me that you spoke to him. Guess I was right to ask you. So how'd you do it? Twist his arm? Threaten to give him a scar or two of his own? Rufus! Tabby snorted, clearly amused at someone else getting the Gale treatment. No, I just talked with him. He's not so unreasonable if you chat with him a bit. I'll take your word for it. Can't say that I wouldn't have done some arm twisting on my own, but you did good, kid. I joined the group as Rufus launched back into another outrageous story about his days as a soldier, but I was only half listening as I felt a sudden overwhelming fatigue. My stomach felt like it was in knots, and I was dying for a smoke. Was this just a post-adrenaline come-down? Whatever it was, I just needed to be alone right now. Hey, I'll see you guys later. I'm going back to my cabin for a bit. Are you okay? You seem a bit shaken. I'm fine, really. Just need a bit of a kip and I'll be okay, I think. Before they could press me further, I moved towards the door as nonchalantly as I could, offering what I hoped was a reassuring smile before departing. Almost as soon as I locked the door behind me, I felt like my chest was going to burst. I'd have grabbed a smoke to calm my nerves, but I couldn't smoke indoors, and I really didn't feel like being around people right now. And then I remembered. Fuck. I pulled my phone out, 3 missed messages from Mom. I was about to respond when I saw the signal bar was empty. Fuck. I guessed I could send an email. I'd need to ask June how I could access the internet, or if there was a satellite phone. Fuck. I bashed the back of my head against the door in frustration. I'd promised I'd get in touch with her today, and now? I swiped to open my messages. Okay, pet, looking forward to it. Sweet dreams. Her response to my last message. My stomach dropped as I continued. Morning, pet. Sleep well? Can you talk? Hi, Garrett. Just checking if you're okay to chat. Love you. Remember to stay warm. My mouth felt dry. Fuck, I'd missed not only my window to get off this fucking tube, but I'd missed my opportunity to let Mom know that I was okay. Shit. What if that was my last message? What if the ship sank? She'd continue sending more and more, never knowing for sure. Fuck. My chest felt like a cauldron of molten lead. Not just anger at myself, frustration at the whole situation, but guilt. Stop it. I closed my eyes, leaning my head back against the door and focused on my breathing. It will pass. In, count to 3. Hold, count to 4. Out, count to 5. I slipped into practice, repeating it in my head like a mantra, weathering the adrenaline storm coursing through me. For minutes, I'm not sure exactly how long, I just focused on breathing. It didn't silence the internal screaming, the thoughts thrashing around seeking whatever it could to torment me. But gradually, agonizingly slow, it quieted. Never fully, of course. It was always there. But focusing on my breathing was like turning down the volume. Slowly, I reopened my eyes. It would be fine. I could contact Mom later. I just need to speak to June. Make a plan. Just stop catastrophizing. Which is easier said than done. My hands automatically reached into my pocket, pulling out the cigarette packet and my lighter. The bathroom. I could go for a smoke there. I didn't care if it set off the alarm right now. I just needed my fix. Pushing myself upright, I quick walked to the bathroom. I yanked a smoke out with my teeth and lit it up like I'd done 1,000 times before, and as soon as the rush hit me, I tilted my head back, closed my eyes, and let out a long sigh. As the smoke left my lungs, it felt as though it carried the toxic thoughts and feelings with it. Ironically, leaving behind a lot of real toxic crap in my lungs, but that was for future me to worry about. Only after the room began filling with smoke did I realize why this was a bad idea in the first place. Fortunately, the small porthole could be opened. I regarded it immediately as a spray of frigid ocean air entered the room, sucking out any heat. Even with my jacket still on, I was shivering. The things I do for a smoke. I half chuckled to myself, then caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, leaning against the wall and drawing again from the smoke. Mom told me to stop this, told me all about emphysema, lung cancer, blah blah blah. It wasn't like I didn't know all of this, didn't feel the nagging in the back of my mind wondering if the cigarette was the one that planted the seeds of cancer. If this was the draw that would sow the arterial gunge that would trigger the heart attack or stroke. Fuck, that voice was coming back again. I hated that voice more than anything, more than my thunderclaps, more than my smoking habit, more than watching Mom deteriorate. Even when I was feeling good, when nothing seemed to be really wrong, or at least not as bad as it could be, it would rise up from the subconsciousness and blether about everything and anything. What ifs and what abouts, could'ves, should'ves. And so I observed myself smoking. That voice began conjuring images of myself on oxygen, unable to even climb stairs without getting out of breath. Fuck it. I stubbed it out on the sink, then tossed the bud out the porthole. I decided to keep it open slightly while closing the bathroom door. I wanted the smoke to ventilate outside and not into my bedroom, where it might actually trigger the smoke alarm. Assuming those fucking things worked. While I was here, I dropped some Diclo into my eyes, just in case. Today had been surprisingly free of pain, but I wasn't willing to chance it. With what little buzz I could get from my smoke fading, I staggered to the bed and flopped onto it, halfway through my first day, and already I was falling apart. Jesus, God forbid a real crisis occurred. I'd be worse than useless. I fumbled for the cable and plugged my phone back in, then set an alarm for dinner time. A nap would help. I always felt better after a sleep. Whatever problem my mind tormented me over, convinced me was an insurmountable apocalyptic event. A few hours of blissful unconsciousness did wonders to silence it. At least for a while. Without even taking off my boots, I closed my eyes, and within moments, I was out like a light. I was lucky to have a dreamless sleep. I couldn't say that I felt amazing. Napping usually made me feel a bit more than tired than I originally had been for a short while. but at least the storm in my head was over. The alarm kicked me fully out of sleep. I lay there for a moment, debating whether I wanted to sleep more. Then my stomach vibrated, growling in protest. I realized that I had not actually eaten lunch. All that drama had just wiped my mind, and the cigarette had suppressed my appetite just before my nap. Dragging myself off the bed, I debated getting a shower before deciding against it. I'd like to grab dinner while it was quiet and certainly without a large crowd. Slipping my phone into my pocket next to my smokes, I stretched, rubbing my eyes, and moved like a zombie towards the door. By the time that I arrived in the lounge, only June, Dana, Tabby, and Gail were present. Dana was chatting a bit with Gail, while June and Tabby were gathering near the kitchen hatch. Already I could smell something good wafting from the hatch. Cumin, coriander, and is that galangal? Probably a curry of some kind, and it smelled delicious. Hey Garrett, your stomach guided you here, no doubt? Not really, but it definitely is getting rumbly. It smells amazing. What's for dinner? Thai green curry. Don't worry, Chef has made 2 versions for people who don't like it spicy. Oh? He must have really put himself out for that. Not that I'm not grateful, mind you. I figured that I'd try a little bit of both. I didn't like spicy food, but it's only respectful to at least give both a shot, since Chef made the effort. I noticed that everyone else still hadn't arrived. Maybe there was still some lingering bad blood from the argument between Sharif and Stefan from earlier. Too hungry to bother waiting, I scooped some of both of the curries onto a mound of rice and sat at the bar, greedily devouring it. The spicy version was indeed too spicy for me. It tasted good from what I could detect through the burning sensation. The milder version was perfect. Nevertheless, I was too hungry to care. I cleaned my plate before sitting back and sighing, sated. You were hungry, giving Stefan a run for his money? I'm not that bad. She chuckled and was about to speak when... Eek! What the hell? This time I reached down into my pocket for my phone, fumbling with it until I could wake it up. Dana and Gail had the same idea, and soon the 3 of us were using our phone torches. June pulled a small torch from her pocket. Tabby! It's okay. You're safe. That was when I remembered Tabby's nyctophobia. Without thinking, I turned my light on her. She was clutching herself, legs curled together and hunched over, eyes wide and breathing harsh, quickly. Garrett, you're blinding her. Fuck, sorry. Gail pulled her into a firm embrace, muffling her whimpering. Let's go outside, Tabby. Get some fresh air, okay? Without waiting for a response, she hustled her sister out towards the door. Dana helped her with her own light, pushing the door open to usher them through. With a grateful smile, the sisters disappeared out onto the deck. What happened? A power cut? Again? I made no attempt to disguise my frustration. I don't know. I'll go speak to the captain. Just wait here, okay? Without waiting for an answer, she hurried off, leaving me and Dana alone. 2 power cuts in 2 days? Yeah. Although she still had that usually halty look, I could see from the curling and the slight puffiness of her tail that she was agitated. I strained my ears, listening for any sounds. I couldn't hear Gail or Tabby out on the deck. In fact, other than our breathing and slight sounds of wind and the sea, it was silent. Wait, silent? Can you hear the engines? She froze, eyes up at the ceiling and ears perked as she, like me, strained to hear. We exchanged worried looks. Lights going off was one thing, but the engines too? That was really not good. My thoughts were interrupted by the sounds of heavy, aggressive thumping steps coming up the stairs from the cabins. I watched the door leading to the cabin stairwell corridor and... What is going on? Why is the power out? Don't ask us. June just went to the bridge to speak to the captain, though. I'm tempted to go up there myself and give him a piece of my mind. Let me talk to the fool. If he tried using the sonar without telling me... He stormed past us, using his own phone for light as he clomped up the stairs to the bridge deck. And the emergency lights still don't work, naturally. Sounds like the captain is going to have a lot more than angry Sharif to deal with. I gave a wiry smile as she lapsed into silence. I contemplated going outside to check on Gail and Tabby when a thought struck me. Where's everyone else? Stefan at least should be here by now, especially with food almost ready. Don't know. Rufus said that he was going to take a nap. Maybe, but Aaron and Stefan not being here is kind of worrying. I hope they aren't lost or anything. I doubt that they'll be able to get lost on a ship this size. Although, maybe if Aaron takes after Carrie. She really wasn't going to let this Carrie business go. We heard the door to the top of the stairs open and some hushed voices, June and Sharif. They both started down the stairs, Sharif looking grim and June, well, she looked slightly frantic. This wasn't what I'd expect from her. Up until now, Tabby screaming last night notwithstanding, she seemed rock steady. This whole business had clearly rattled her. Guys, has Joseph shown up? The bowl guy? No. Can't you contact him? By radio or something? The ship intercoms are down, and he's not answering by radio. He could be hurt. Something must have happened to him. It's not like him to not answer. June, calm yourself. You are supposed to be the one in charge of us, remember? She blinked, as though she had been slapped. Then her expression hardened, and some of her previous grit returned. The ship's radio is down, as is navigation and engines. We are adrift and have no means of contacting help. This is a total power failure. Something must have gone really badly wrong. Wait. First no emergency lights, now what, we don't have any battery backups? We do. I just don't know why it hasn't kicked in. I need to go check on the engine room and find Joseph. I'm coming with you. Me too. I blurted it out before I could stop myself, but I didn't want to be alone here, and I wanted to know what was going on. No, this is my job, not yours. It's too dangerous. June, I respect your position, but going alone would be reckless. She looked to each of us in turn, biting her lower lip. It was clear that she was grateful to be offered company, even if her professional pride was less thankful. Come on, what's the harm? Besides, the longer that we sit here dawdling, the greater the danger, right? All right. But you do as I say, are we clear? We both nodded. I will come too. This is the second power cut in 2 days, and I am very much eager to meet Joseph. The three of us gave a collective shudder at the thought of Sharif and Joseph having a shouting match, but no one objected. June pulled some torches from under the bar and handed each of us one. Here, save your phone batteries. Moving down the stairs towards the cabins, it was only now that it was dimly illuminated by the window allowing moonlight in that I realized just how cramped the passages were. It also didn't help that I could feel the rolling of the ship beneath my paws pick up. Maybe it was just my nerves-riddled senses in overdrive, but I thought that I could hear the wind increasing. And my nerves only worsened at the prospect of an uncontrollable ship in a rough storm. Without the windows allowing in moonlight, the corridor was utterly pitch black. I switched on my torch, giving us a view of the now not-so-cozy interior. Hello? She squinted into the corridor, shining her torch back and forth. Dana? I thought I saw someone. I felt the ship pitch slightly, then it rolled to the left, causing a feeling of vertigo. It feels like a storm is brewing. Without engines, we're fucked. The engine room is at the end of the corridor, down the stairs. Stefan? Aaron? Rufus? I called out, straining my ears for the sounds of movement or voices. Nothing. Where are they? How can they get lost on a ship this small? Clustered together, we made our way unsteadily. Shadows moved as the corridor began to rock and the beams from our torches slid across the walls. It was unsettling just how aware I was of the sounds of the ocean and the wind. It had always been there, as had the rolling of the ship, but knowing that we had no engines made me flinch at every tilt. The familiar scent of fear, 3 different scents to be precise, drowned out all other scents. Having a lupine nose was sometimes a curse. Wait. Gah! I placed a hand on my chest, expecting my heart to explode through my ribs. Damn it, Sharif, don't just shout like that! But he ignored us, shoving past to storm over to a cabin door. Who has been in my room? Are you fucking serious? We don't have time for this. I closed my doors. I know I did. Someone has been here. Sharif, the ship is rocking like crazy. It could have just opened. And anyway, who cares? You probably didn't close it properly. It happens. Wait here. I need to check something. Fuck's sake, Sharif. Can't this wait? Without dignifying me with a response, he shoved the door open and clumped inside. Should we wait? Fuck him. We don't have time. You said yourself we don't have a communications either, right? Yeah. So not only are we out of control, if something does happen, we have no way of sending out a distress signal. Sharif, we don't have time. Hurry up. From inside his cabin, I could hear rustling of paper, like he was leaving through a book. Then a loud, furious snort. The angry hoof steps reverberated through my paws and on my legs until he reappeared at his cabin door. Then he looked pissed. Then let us go. I will deal with this later. He shoved something into his jacket pocket before turning without another word and marching off down the corridor. Well, let's go. Even she sounded baffled, but we knew that we can't stand around. We followed them, clearly seething hoarse. The second set of stairs led down into the inky black lowest deck. Down here, the increasing rolling of the ship was even more apparent. Even with the torchlight, the darkness was oppressive, and to make matters worse, it was freezing down here. My breath fogged in front of me and my nose nipped at the biting cold. Heaty must be down too. I could hear the shivering in her voice. Already the cold was cutting through me. So, if we don't drown, we'll freeze. Garrett! Enough. June, where is the engine room? Just down there. She pointed towards a rather sturdy-looking steel door. Sharif was already standing there, arms crossed and tapping a finger impatiently on his arm. The door is locked. Of course it is. Here, allow me. June sounded pretty irate, which I guess I could understand. I preferred her like this to the borderline panic-stricken at least. She fumbled for a set of keys and was about to slot them into the lock when I heard something. June, wait! She jumped and yelped, and even Sharif looked startled. Garrett, what? Quiet. Listen. Silence fell over us. The wind was clearly pretty wild now. Even down here in the bowels of the ship, we could hear it. I heard clearly this time. A harsh, snapping noise. Then another, irregular and unpredictable. No one touch anything metallic. June, let me unlock it. What is it? Why? You have fingerless gloves. Listen, I can hear something sparking in there. The walls or floor could be live. Don't touch anything, okay? I wasn't used to taking command like this, but if something in there was really shortening, any conductive surface could be deadly. The key entered the lock and I turned it, hearing it click open. I turned the wheel and pushed, revealing the engine room. The moment the door opened, the sounds of the electrical sparking became harsh enough to make me flinch. Each spark briefly illuminated the back of the room, casting eerie shadows. Oh my god! Joseph? Joseph, are you there? Dana joined in, shouting, more commanding in her tone versus June's slightly raised pitch. But there was no response. Joseph? Joseph! June, calm yourself. This is no time to panic. What if he's got electrocuted? What if he's hurt? June, I get that you're worried, but you cannot fuck around in here, understood? I placed a hand on her shoulder, trying my best to be reassuring while also impressing upon her the imminent danger. It sounds like power is still coming from somewhere, if that shortening is anything to go by. June, do you know if the ship has a backup generator or batteries? Yeah, there's a backup. In fact, I think I can hear it. My hearing was a little phased by the constant loud electrical bursts, but as I strained to hear, I heard a soft, low rumble from one of the other side rooms. Okay, before we do anything, I need to turn it off. Can you take me there? Do you think that you can fix it, Garrett? No idea, but I need to turn off the backup before I get anywhere near it. In the meantime, could you two... I gestured to Sharif and Dana. Look for the breakers. It should be a big cabinet with a series of switches, kind of like what you'd find in your house, just bigger. They exchanged dubious looks, but thankfully didn't argue. Oh, before you go, I assure you I have no intention of touching anything, Garrett. I ignored his attitude and followed June towards the side room. It was dangerously close to the sparking equipment, which, now I could see, seemed to be a control panel near the main generator. I had an awful feeling in the pit of my stomach that whatever was damaged was not going to be repairable, at least not without Joseph. Wherever he was. The backup was a dinky-looking piece of crap, rattling and vibrating. The engine room itself was dark, and I didn't know enough about ship engines to really judge their condition, sparking control panels notwithstanding. But this thing looked like it was moments away from rattling itself into pieces. I slowly reached for the power switch, half expecting an arc to zap my fingers before pulling the switch down. Instantly, the backup generator stopped, and with it, the sparking. With the absence of the constant electrical popping, the ringing in my ears began to fade. Okay, now what? Now, I need to go take a look at the damage. Listen, I need to go look for Joseph. He could be hurt or... She trailed off. In all honesty, June wasn't going to be much of use to me now, and it was clear that her mind was focused on him. Okay, where are you going to look? Just so that we know where to find you once we're done. I'm gonna search the machine shop just opposite the door that we entered through. If he's not there, then... I guess the crew cabins are the only place that I could think of he could be. A sense of vertigo came over me as I felt the ship roll beneath my paws, making me grab a conduit to stop myself toppling over. Okay, fair enough. I need to get to work. Be careful, okay? Come back here if you find him. Okay, good luck. She gave me a weak smile and left through the door. When I entered the engine room again, Dana was waiting for me. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So, there was a fight between Stefan and Sharif. Stefan, of course, doing stupid things as usual, or as I would have guessed. I mean, I know why he's doing it. I know his whole rationale, and maybe I might be like that too if I had a loved one that went, that disappeared and I had a chance to maybe find them, maybe rescue them. But like at the same time, it's like, dude, come on. It's been a while now. They're probably dead. If not, they ate each other. What are the chances that they didn't eat your brother, dude? You're a possum. Ugh. Anyways, thankfully, Garrett was able to diffuse, the tension between Rufus and Sharif. And I do know that if you, do not do it diplomatically, Sharif doesn't accept the whole what's going on, and he basically kicks you out of the room. And I do think that it's better that you go instead of Rufus, I think. So yeah. Also, the power went out. Ooh, spooky. I wonder why it happened. I wonder what Joseph is and everyone else. I'm pretty sure Stefan isn't doing something stupid. But yeah. So yeah, write down in the comments what you think Stefan is doing, the little twerp. And thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Polar Night yourself, you can do so by going down to the description and going down to the Polar Night visual novel Twitter page, which will link you directly to the itch.io page in case you don't already know how to get to it yourself. And if you would like to support them, then I will link down the pertinent links, Patreons, or coffees that they might have, along with my own, in case you want to support me. It's not necessary, but it is welcome. But yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.